me take the time to say a special good morning to one and all. Welcome to today's edition of To The Point. It's Tuesday, the 20th day of May, 2025. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And certainly hope all is well with everyone out there this morning. It's another edition of Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point. And representing today, we have Senator Norland Cox representing with us this morning. Let's go over and say good morning to Senator Norland Cox. Senator Cox, good morning and welcome. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Pleasant morning, GT. Hope that you're hearing me clear and the guests are hearing me loud and clear. And let me say pleasant morning also to the listeners, viewers of this program, and of course of GBN and the world and the wide world web. Thank you.
All right, certainly welcome. All is well.
Morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to be engaged at this level. So I'm happy.
All right. Well, once again, welcome, and you're certainly loud and clear. Let me see, Senator Cox. Let's get the ball rolling off the bat. In a few weeks from now, it will be 1 year of Hurricane Beryl in the sister isle of Carriacou and at PT Martinique. I certainly know that you are residing currently on the sister isle of Carriacou. How are things in Carriacou in terms of the whole post-Hurricane Beryl, the recovery efforts and everything else, the cleanup processes, everything else? How is things actually going in Carriacou at this time? Before we dive into all the other on the conversation we certainly will have.
Well, first of all, let me say, I think as we near the first anniversary of Beryl, I think it's an emotional time for a lot of people in Carriacou. Some of them who can recall some near-death experiences. Some persons who had lost family members. Persons who have lost their homes and other assets. Some persons who have been able to build back their home to some shape or form. Some persons who are still unable to get back in a house or probably living in a tent still, or probably displaced, living by someone. So I think it's a mixture of response and feelings and emotions for various persons as we approach the 1 year mark. As regards to the whole recovery process, I think I don't want to probably give basically my opinion. My opinion might be one that might be skewed or might be considered to be skewed, but to feedback from people, generally, people in the general sense always think that some of the responses were too slow in terms of the help, and knowing the fact that we had an insurance facility where we have monies ready, like 14 days, in excess of $100 million, and we're ready to assist persons who have been in distress. I think that is the key issue, having those funds available and looking at it in comparison to the response. Persons just felt that a lot more could have been done for them and to assist with the recovery process. That being said, persons are still grateful, and we are grateful for whatever little assistance or support that they have received thus far. So, in a nutshell, that is how persons really feel. The key issue for us continues to be housing. Housing continues to be the main challenge for Carriacouans and Pitamaticans, even more so, because as you know, a home is one that brings comfort for your family and for you to function properly on a daily basis. And if you're displaced, you're staying by somebody, it's not comfortable. For persons who are still living under tents, it's still not comfortable. For persons who are in makeshift, they're still not comfortable. And it also places them in a precarious position as the hurricane season approaches again. So that in itself is another challenge for residents to contend with. God forbid that we don't have to deal with anything close or anything half of what Beryl was. So we are praying for a very quiet season. Rains is fine, but we are praying for a very quiet season so that we do not have to contend with any issues. So the city housing has continued to be the issue, and I think it's one that whole process has really been has not gone smoothly for a lot of people for a number of reasons. And I have always said that the approach, the implementation approach, has not been the right one, and because it has not really helped, in the true sense of the word, create the kind of outcome that persons really need. What we have seen, government have taken an approach to purchase prefab homes. That was one approach, and then they had this Build Back Better initiative. So those are the two main initiatives by government, and also to give out materials, some $15,000 worth of materials for persons. But as time goes by, GT, we just keep hearing a lot of stories, a lot of reports of inconsistencies, unfairness, and so a lot of persons are somewhat disgruntled as to how this has been rolling out. And it begs to question what type of management, has this thing been really planned? And I contend that has always been an issue. Some of it, sometimes, it's hard to speak about some of the things because it's somewhat embarrassing, and some of it can be avoided once persons do things properly.
All right.
You have a disaster, and the disaster is that everybody's affected. When you are taking applications for persons who have had losses, who are in distress, and your first criteria for choosing that person is to find out if they vote for you, are they going to vote for you before you decide to help them, then that is scary. And that is the reality of what is actually happening. It is, it's sad. It is very unfortunate. I sometimes, you feel helpless not being able to help people in situations like this, knowing that they're honest that their homes have been destroyed. And they are not concerned. They are not concerned about where their political preference is, but they just want to get a home back for their family, and for them to be treated in that manner because persons are putting them through some vetting before they could assist them. I think it is very sad and unfair and inappropriate, given the circumstance of what transpired in Carriacou and Pitimatlick. And I say this, let me give you an example. There was an individual who applied for materials using a particular name. Yeah? I think his first name or so. And was denied more than once. The individual used a middle name that is not known and got through the materials. So you have to understand that is the meandering that some persons, that is the length that some persons are going to get support, and you have to laugh, because why does it have to be that way? And there are many stories. There are many stories of instances where persons are denied for one reason or the other. We have also significant complaints of persons who had a home, lost their home, have been denied assistance. They haven't even received material or even promised of a home. And the persons who never had a home get one. So I don't have a challenge with somebody being given a home who never had a home before. But the issue is, I think, the whole issue of prioritizing, dealing with those who had a home, who have kids. Why not address those first? Why not give those attention? And then you can always look at others who are in need, because there is always the challenge and the need for housing. That is one of our key challenges as a country. So very disheartening to see these things happening, to hear these things happening to persons who have no control. And bearing in mind that the funds are state funds, is largely the funds have been made available through the insurance facility, which the previous government would have set up. And while we take some credit for that, but the idea is that for everybody to benefit. That is the reason why it was done. It was not done for a particular set of people within our country to receive benefits in the event of a hurricane or any natural disaster for that matter. So I am very, very disheartened about this. And it's something that we feel very strongly about that needs to be stopped. And it can be done. I mean, we are a small community. We are very small community. There's no reason to treat people like that. And persons will support you politically for one reason or another, irrespective of your job. You know, so I think it's something that they need to relook, and they need to approach it differently.
Senator Cox, let me ask you this in particular, and of course, you know, a majority of the questions I had to ask you this morning in terms of housing, you have suddenly answered them a whole lot, so there's no need to go back there. Let me ask you now. If the opportunity is given, what specific policy, sir, or initiative would you advocate for improving that housing access, I should say, for the individuals in Carriacou and Petit Martinique? If that opportunity arises where you are given an opportunity to do so, what specific, policy or changes would you make?
Well, I've said it several times in this program, that first of all, there ought to have been a proper assessment as to on the real number as to how much persons that got damaged, what is the severity, where these persons are, and you take an approach and you categorize persons and you assist persons irrespective of their political preference. We are Carriacouans and Petit Martiniquans. We are all affected. When the rain falls now, it's falling, it's wetting everybody. So I don't understand that approach, and so that is the first thing. The second thing, in terms of the housing, and I must express thanks to a number of organizations and groups who are actually going around and assisting persons with getting their roof back. And some of them are foreign organizations. We really want to thank them, want to express a heartfelt thanks to them for the support they have been giving to Carriacouans. And we would have taken an approach by going and actually probably building back roofs for persons, actually getting persons' roof covered physically, instead of giving somebody $15,000 worth of materials, which there are reports that persons are trading them for other things, because they can't move forward with it. The materials is not enough for them to even start based on the severity of the damage. And then there are some persons who receive 3 or 4 times that. So, and all of it is based on who you are. And so that policy, we clearly wouldn't have gone down that road. While one person may require more support than another based on the damage, it should not be because of who that person is, but it should be because of the damages. And so that is something different that I would definitely would not have. I wouldn't condone that. I'm not that kind of person. I've never been that kind of person. And I want to sleep comfortable when night meets. So I wouldn't treat people like that. Another approach that we would have done differently, especially as regards to the Build Back Better, I think to date there are probably about 10 or so houses that might have been delivered to persons since the hurricane. And the challenge with it is that those houses have been done through a day work approach. All right, that is the strategy that they're using, day work. Here what the challenge is with that. There are significant delays, and the houses are taking far longer to construct. There are houses that I know that have started since last year, and to date they are still incomplete. And the reason for that is, one, the supply of materials to the sites have to be done by government. And I'll get to that later on and probably show whether it's deliberate or maybe poor decision, but we'll discuss that. we are saying is that if you issue a contract to a contractor who is a civil contractor who meet the basic requirements, because it's a small project, it may just cost maybe a little over $100,000 or so, and the contractor knows that he has this contract to implement, it is clear that the contractor, in his interest, will try to implement the house as quickly as possible, because that will be beneficial for him, for his business. And that in turn will allow the project to be finished early, quicker, on time, and also will allow the contractor to realize more benefits for he or herself. Now, what is happening now, it is day work. They come whenever. There is little or no supervision, and guys come to work. If the material, the government take half a day to bring the material, they sit down, they wait for the material. If not, they go home, they come back another day. And so it is inefficient. And it's wasteful. It's causing a lot of wastage. And so you have this situation where those projects now are find themselves in problems. There is significant reports now where persons are not being paid because government now have to come fortnightly to pay these monies. Some contractors who, in their nature, good nature, are using their monies to pay the workers, which they ought not to be doing because government is paying everybody on a fortnightly basis. So what we've learned is that when, in some cases, more than 2 or 3 fortnights, they have not received any monies to pay the workers. And so some of the contractors who feel aggrieved in some way and feel that, look, these guys came and worked with me, let me find some money to pay them still, and I will take the blunt of that, and when government pays, they will get back their money. So that is basically what is actually happening. And we see this as very counterproductive, given the nature of where we are and how quickly the houses are to be rebuilt. Bearing in mind the nature of how Carriacou is set up in terms of rainwater harvesting, we have the rainy season. So the quicker you get those houses up, the quicker you get roofs up, it is much more better to also to treat and to deal with the water situation that also exists on island. So GT, that is, just in a summary, that would have been probably my approach instead of what is happening now, where government is actually handling the material. Let me tell you, this material is now, to me, is like another big issue where you have a lot of unsavory things taking place. There are reports that government is procuring materials, for example, blocks from persons for $2 more when there are other service providers in Ireland who you can get the blocks for $2 or $3 cheaper. And there is a clear policy that those blocks are to be purchased from those service providers only. So it sends a clear message of what is taking place. And the management and the maneuvering and handling of the procurement. Some service providers have been deliberately blacklisted for one reason or another. And so certain things are shining a particular way. And this thing has become a big issue. It's a mess. It's a mess, GT. So I as I said, I think if you have individual contractors have different relationship with different service providers. And what that would have done, that would have also allowed, so if you have 10 contractors, and 10 contractors, that's split up between 4 or 5 service providers in Carriacou. That allows for better business and more economic activity to allow those contractors to procure items from various persons, service providers, than the government now just holding it and just channeling it to 1 or 2 individuals. And so that is what we would have done differently, and that is what is actually happening in a nutshell.
Senator Cox, we due for a break. Let's take it. We come back. We still have much more to discuss. So we come back. We'll be right back after the short break. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio, GBN TV.
sporting fans, ready yourselves for the most anticipated Winston Tide Games, June 7th and 8th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Come support our athletes as they compete with some of the region's best in the field events and on the tracks. Save the date, June 7th and June 8th, Winston Tide Games at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Stay tuned for more info. Winston Tide Game 2025.
Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's playing field transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th, so don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
Heritage Theatre presents Breaking Out, the Grenada Love Story, featuring Robert White and Lisa Grappi, written and directed by Chris DeRiggs.
But I still love you, Richie.
You love me and you're hard me. 4 big performances, Saturday 24th and Sunday 25th May at the Grenada Trade Center, Saturday 31st May and Sunday 1st June at Deluxe Cinema in Grenville. Showtime 7 p.m. sharp.
He's the love of my life, Auntie.
You have to marry a man for other things besides love, child.
Get your tickets at Mitchell's Pharmacy in Grand Anse, Gittins Health and Wellness Wall Street, Gabriel's Pharmacy Pedmata, St. David Pharmacy, St. Andrew Pharmacy, Art and Soul Boutique at Spiceland Mall, 3B's Shoe Store, and GoToFed.com. Breaking Out. Come out and enjoy Grenadian theater at its best.
This ad complements Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited.
One of the things that I like about pediatrics is that it's never just about the child, it's also about family, extracurricular activities, sports, school, all of those things we get involved in. I think one of the nice things is also that it's about empowering families, or giving them the knowledge that they need. It's actually about forming a community of people who support each other. We're in this parenting journey together.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers. Welcome back, Senator Cox, and welcome back once again to those of you via our social media platforms. And let's continue with the conversation. Senator Cox, I want to focus a wee bit on the Hurricane Beryl, the cleanup. We know the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. Tell me a wee bit about in relation to how would you evaluate, the cleanup, the recovery, and efforts in Carriacou thus far? What kind of evaluation would you, of course, have for that as it stands right now?
Yeah, I think it's probably hard for me to give a figure or a number, but let me say what I did say before, and I'll say it again. In terms of the cleanup in the respective villages, that has been done properly. That has been done well. Persons can traverse through the various communities with ease, no issues, no concerns. And so the government must be commended for that, for the cleanup within the various respective communities and some of the inroads and byroads and so. And the commendation must be given for that. But I think the real issue is centered around a lot of it in terms of management, costs, possibly corruption, and I'll go further. And I think it's important to give a historical transit, because I know that there might be a number of persons on social media who have contrasting views on these issues that I'm speaking on. But I feel comfortable, and because I deal with the issues and the facts as they are. So I'm not flustered by anything. And let me say this. So let me give a historical transit as to how this thing was done. So after the hurricane, the debris was picked up in the streets and various areas within the communities, and a decision was taken to put it, I think, as it started at Hillsborough playing field. I think at some point in time thereafter, concerns were raised of the use of the playing field and why it should not be used. So then you have now, from the various communities, I think other 2 playing fields were also used, Dover, Mount Pleasant, and some private areas also using Hillsborough. What happened thereafter? Contractors were paid monies to take the debris from the small playing fields like Dover, Mount Pleasant, and that private site and dump into Hillsborough playing field. Subsequently, a sign was erected on all the playing fields indicating that they are official dump sites, and that's a fact. Thereafter, garbage was trucked from Hillsborough. I think right after my presentation, budget presentation in the Senate, I think I spoke. I never see truck walk so fast. I never see playing field clean so fast. I spoke on Tuesday, and by Friday, Hillsborough playing field was cleared, and all the materials were taken to Harveyville. What is happening now? Materials now have been taken from Harveyville. Contractors have been paid money now. Take the materials from Harveyville and truck them to Dumfries. And that's a fact. And it doesn't matter what anybody say or otherwise, that is a fact. You ask anybody who reside in Carriacou who saw what went on and see what is going on, that is a fact. And so the question is this poor decision? Was this deliberate? Because we know for a fact that over $10 million was budgeted under MIT for cleanup in Carriacou. And GT, the majority of the governors in particular are basically sitting in Harveyville playing field. Either some of it is already cubed by solid waste, and some of it is loose governors sitting there. And we are actually going to the hurricane season within the next 3 to 4 weeks, thereabout, yeah? And you are telling me, if we have a storm or so, I'm going hurricane, a storm, that you have zinc sheets that are susceptible, that are sitting right there, that I can be flying missiles. And so when you ask the question of how to rate the cleanup, you see the disparity. While work has been done to clear the various communities, the garbage, how it was handled and where it sits right now, it's a mess. It comes as if all the work that was done before, everything amounts to nothing. And so that is my contention. Why is tons of garbage sitting in Harveyville playing field almost a year after? That can be a potential hazard for this upcoming hurricane season. It's a health hazard for neighboring communities. It's unsightly. The playing field itself has to be of course, be repaired, be restored. So that is the issue. I don't understand why what's happening. Work has stopped in terms of moving the stuff out. I don't know what is the issue for that. But I am saying here this morning, those are the issues that are affecting us as Carriacouans. And if persons believe that having piles of hurricane debris sitting in Hillsborough in Harveyville playing field almost a year after a hurricane is fine and they see no issue with it, then I rest my case.
Senator Cox, let me ask you in reference to the level of preparedness for residents in the sister isle of Carriacou. In a couple of weeks, I still say in a couple of weeks because you know how time flies. We be into the hurricane season once again. What's the level of preparedness in terms of response, just in case for some reason, God forbid, an issue of what we experienced with Hurricane Beryl and so happens again? What's the level of preparedness from residents within the sister isle of Carriacou? What's your take on that?
Well, I think in terms of preparedness, there are two levels, and I think from the NADMA side, I believe because of burial, NADMA is much more prepared. They have a lot more equipments. They do have a lot more supplies in stock. So from that end, prior to burial, NADMA was not satisfactory in terms of having that level of preparedness. So I think from the NADMA end, we are probably much prepared because of burial and being able to get all the support. And so they're able to replenish their stock and to have that preparedness. And also, I think in terms of having experiences from burial, there are lessons learned. So I think we're better prepared in that regard. As regards to residents, I'm not sure how prepared, and I've been very honest because some persons are so consumed. We're trying to get their life back together. I'm not sure how prepared persons are. I do know that we do have a challenge in terms of hurricane shelters. And I myself have been thinking, what can be done in terms of hurricane shelters? What approach can be taken now, seeing that the majority of our hurricane shelters, some of them have been lost, like the Dover Government School. Some have been damaged. I'm not certain what the condition of the other schools. I know some work was done on Mount Pleasant School, and some work was done on Leicester School. Haverhill School, I'm not sure what's the status with it, but the issue of hurricane shelters is one that will be upfront as a key issue. And so I have been looking to see from myself, in terms of alternative approaches, what can be done in terms of hurricane shelters going forward. And I believe that a good approach maybe the Ministry of NADMA can do now is to start partnering with some households, persons' homes who might be in very good condition and do have a proper, like a downstairs basement type arrangement. NADMA can engage them and partner with them and have them as what it was as temporary shelters or alternative shelters or subsidiary shelters, and to see how much persons they can accommodate so that NADMA can use that to increase their stock in terms of directing persons to those homes that they have assessed, approved and passed and partnered with as temporary or subsidiary hurricane shelters in the absence of having proper shelters. So I think that is an approach and the reason why I would suggest that, because you would have more people now who are susceptible to wanting to, or who may have to go into a shelter because of the housing situation, because they probably would have knocked up back a little something, or probably in a tent still. So the situation is still up in the air as to the amount of persons that will be required to go into shelters if a hurricane do come this season. So that for me is my assessment of the situation. I'm just recommending that to NADMA and the authorities as a possible approach. I think one that they've quickly done because the hurricane season is upon us, so they can go to the respective committees. There are persons who homes are in good order and who have a good downstairs, and NADMA could just probably work with them to making that area more ready for persons to house persons, because in any event, persons will find themselves at somebody else's home. If a disaster were to come. Right. So I think that will be my suggestion.
I want to move to Petit Martinique for a wee bit, Senator Cox. Now, what are some of the unique developments and needs per se for Petit Martinique, and how well do you think that those needs are currently being addressed?
Well, what is taking place on Carriacou, those needs for Petit Martinique are no different than some of the needs for Carriacou. There's a challenge with housing. Housing still is a challenge. I know that they're building, I think it's about 5 homes or so. I stand correctly in terms of the number. They're building some build back better homes for persons there on island. So my memory serves me right. There is no family has received no homes or delivered to Pitty as yet, in Pitty as yet, unfortunately so. But that's the situation at hand. But one of the major issues affecting Pitty is the whole issue of traversing between Carriacou and Pitty and of course the jetty in Windward still remains an issue up front and center. The last time when I spoke about it publicly, I was met with some responses that a contract was issued for the jetty and the jetty to start soon. That's a different conversation. We'll deal with that at a probably another time. But the issue of the jetty remains a major concern for Pitty. I mean, I went to Pitty recently, and I saw what persons have to contend with, having to go around. It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. And there were suggestions given, I believe, that are still valuable up to this day and can be applied to ease the burden of the people of Pitty. But the administration seemed to think differently, that the people of Pitty should wait until they construct the new jetty in terms of, as against just restoring the temporary structure that is there so that they can use while the new jetty is constructed. And there is ample space for the new jetty to be constructed and for the temporary one to be used while the new one is constructed. There is ample space for that. So, as I said, that has been my suggestion, but the parliamentary rep, of course, thinks differently. So the people of Pitty have to grind it through, probably for another year or more, depending on how long jetty will take to start or how long it will take to complete. So they will have to prepare themselves mentally for that, unless there are other plans to do something differently. But we will. But as it stands now, we haven't heard any plans to provide any temporary support or measure for Pitty to traverse safely between Carriacou and Pitty on the windward side in particular. So we await the commencement of the jetty, but it's supposed to start in Windward. And there is also another jetty that is being constructed by the Windward Free Center. So there are two jetties that will be under construction on the northern side. So we will have more conversation on those going forward, JT, but for Pitty, as I said, the issue continues to be housing and also the issue of the transportation, being able to move comfortably between the islands.
Senator Cox, let me also ask you this as it relates to Pitty. You know, Pitty being a small community, how is better planning, be integrated, especially the voices of the residents and so forth on that small community like Pitty can enhance the overall development of Pitty in particular? Is it planning an issue? Is it, from way back then to now, is it planning the critical problem in terms of how we things are moving on the island, per se?
Well, I don't... Let me say this, all right? What I do know is that the government would have engaged the people of Pitty. I think they had some town hall meetings sometime back, and I'm quite certain that those concerns would have been raised at that meeting. And obviously, there is an expectation for some consideration to be given to those advice and suggestions regarding the issues affecting Pitty. So I believe that if the government listens to the residents, those issues can be addressed very easily. Pitty do have a clear indication as to what is affecting them, and they always give suggestions as to how it can be addressed. So I think it's just a matter of listening to the people and working with them and to shaping their suggestions and ideas into a better approach and taking some action. And just imagine, the people of Pidimantnik, their livelihood is basically centered around the maritime sector. And, to date, you still have in excess of 40 fishermen from Pidimantnik, plus persons in the farming community, both Carriacou and Pidimantnik as well. Not being able to get the relief support that is due to them. I mean, I've spoken about it. I don't know, but I just will continue to speak about it because there are persons who sustain damages. So you find out persons have to use their monies to repair the boat. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, GT, but in the context of what we know that has transpired, where persons who never had a boat got relief money, persons who boat got minimal damage got relief money, persons who probably never even make a trip or start walking yet, they got monies. And I'm talking about persons, bona fide fishermen who are actually plying the trade on a daily basis for their families. They are yet to receive. And I don't know. It is very unfair. I trust that is not, I don't know the names of all the persons who have not received the relief support. And so I wouldn't say that it is one that is political in nature, because I don't have that information. It'd be unfair for me to say so. But I pray that that is not the case. Pidimantnik has gone through enough. They have gone through enough and continue to go through hardship on a daily basis. And so every opportunity that affords itself, that opens up to provide some support or assistance to them, it should be done. Because they are at a disadvantage in terms of a lot of issues, in terms of their location and getting. So I am saying that much more can be done for Pidimantnik, and I'm asking some more be done to really help the people of Pidimantnik over there. I mean, so it's just I sometimes feel as if sometimes Pidimantnik is picked on. I was sitting the other day when the issue with the water, and I said, why Pidimantnik? Why Pidimantnik? Just water, just cut it from them, a core part for the plant taken from Pidimantnik to come to Carriacou to supply water to Carriacou, and Pidimantnikans without notice didn't have any water. So I just think that more could be done, and there's a clear opportunity to treat the people of Pidimantnik much better.
Senator Cox, we drew for a break. Let's take it when we come back. Of course, in the next segment, we will, of course, invite our listeners and viewers if they do have a question or two, and we still continue with our conversation. Stay with us, folks, to the Point Classic Radio TBN TV. We coming right back after the break.
Heritage Theatre.
GBN presents the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, June 7th, Montrouge Plainfield from 11 a.m. Our partners, Maggie, the secret of great flavor, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clark's Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Grenada Paper Products, makers of Cherish, Spring Soft, Harbour Bay and Super Value Toilet Paper, and Royal, Quick and Easy and Horizon Paper Towels, Budget Foods Inc., Classic Lighting, and Blue Bubbles PA Rental and Event Supplies. It's the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules.
Just like a freestyle, the life block flowing mile by mile. It's legacy, a beat that don't stop like Bob Marley said. One love on top, the sewage water out of sight, but it's always wrong, don't lose the light. From factories and wells so deep, corrupts mangroves and fish they weep. Grey water for the garden, keep it green. Save the cash and the earth gets clean. We use the water with a mindful mind. It's out of sight but never far behind. In nature, the answers always flow. Like water running pure, the cycle cycle grows. It renews itself, same drop, same beat. It's all good, man, you got the heat. Water flow. No clean water, no pipes we grow. Protect our water, protect our future.
Time to go.
Sporting fans, ready yourselves for the most anticipated Winston Tide Games, June 7th and 8th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Come support our athletes as they compete with some of the region's best in the field events and on the tracks. Save the date, June 7th and June 8th, Winston Tide Games at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Stay tuned for more info. Winston Tide Game 2025.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. To the point for today, Tuesday, the 20th day of May, 2025. We have representing with us this morning the opposition. We have Senator Norland Cox with us this morning. And Senator Cox, welcome back once again. Senator Cox, before we entertain the calls, and I do have a couple of calls already on hold there for you, let me ask you this question. There's been some questions raised about the electoral office in Carriacou, sir. Can you provide any clarity or updates on these concerns, if you have any clarity or updates in relation to that?
But I think there's a wider issue too with the electoral office, with the system being down. There seem to be some challenges with the system. So there was sometimes the system was down for quite a long period. Persons were unable to access and to register and to get their IDs and so. So that is one aspect of it. In terms of the Carriacou office, I know that there is one incident that has happened sometime, not to the distant past, regarding the person in charge of the electoral office being up front and center with NDC party paraphernalia, T-shirts and whatsoever at a political event. Obviously, I mean, I don't have to read and spell, but that is a no-no. Persons do have their political preference, that is fine. But persons, it's a serious breach in terms of persons doing that. And so that has never been a practice by persons in charge of our electoral offices, irrespective of where they support. They know that is not something that is condoned. They're not to do that. They're not they cannot actively involve in party politics if you govern the office for obvious reasons. And so we did register our concerns with the appropriate authorities, electoral office or postal duties office, on that matter. If I should just speak from my opinion, and I mean the party will give its position on it, but from where I sit, I mean I know the individual very well, well-educated person, some solid person, and I think it would probably be in her interest to maybe step aside at this point in time, just to save her reputation in terms of how people would view her. I mean, being able to act, impartial to everybody in administrating the electoral process. I think there's a serious cloud which hangs over her head based on how she has presented herself, and the evidence is clear. So the question is, how are you going to convince persons that you are going to approach your administration of the office fairly if persons see you going down a particular line or only supporting a particular organization? In that regard, I think it raises serious questions, serious concerns, and persons are very much are not pleased about that, and not just from a political standpoint, but in terms of the integrity of the office, in ensuring that we keep our electoral system to the highest level of integrity as possible. And so, my suggestion to her would be to probably step aside and maybe take up another assignment or so, because that cloud and of course that uncertainty and that mistrust will continue to hang over her if she continues to remain in that office.
All right.
So that is how I feel about it. I mean, she and I, we haven't spoken about it. We do share pleasantries. I meet her from time to time. We have worked on other things together before in the past. So I know her, and so that would be my advice to her in that regard.
Okay. We do have a call online. Of course, once again, 435-2041. If you have a question or two you may like to ask Senator Cox, feel free to do so in this segment. We do have our first caller via WhatsApp. WhatsApp caller, good morning, and you're live.
Good morning, GT. Good morning, Senator Cox. Senator Cox, could you make your answers a little shorter, because you're just going, sometimes I'll lose my trend of thought. So please, can you just be a little shorter? Okay, GT, my question to Senator Cox. Senator Cox yesterday happened to speak to 3 people in Carriacou itself to know how Carriacou was doing. And the 3 people said to me, ask Senator Cox what he's doing for Carriacou, because every time you come and then they hear like you bashing things. Okay, my second question to you is, Senator Cox, I wanted to be honest, and I wanted to give me a yes or no answer. Can you tell me if this administration did more for Carriacou under the leadership of Prime Minister Dickens and the leadership of Tevin and Joe than what we had in the past for 23 years? And if your answer is no, I want you to highlight 4 things for me. All right, Senator Cox, the last time you was on the same program, I asked you what you did for Carriacou so far. And all you tell me that you helped somebody build some ranch. Senator Cox, you is unbelievable. You know what I mean? Because I want to know what you're doing for Carriacou. You come, you have so many answers and so many questions. Well, today the Prime Minister is going to have a program at 6 o'clock between 6 and 7, and I would like you, Senator Cox, to make that call. And the last thing I want to ask you, I'm inviting you this Thursday to be on Vibes FM, because Kim and Leo have been trying to get to you and you've been dodging them. So I'm giving you an open invitation. Have a great day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Senator Cox, respond to the caller.
Thank you, GT. And I think this is probably my favorite person. Let me just say thank you to the caller. And first of all, the caller did indicate that my answers are too long, but the caller have to also bear in mind that he asked me about 5 or 6 questions. So if I could give a short answer for the 5 or 6 questions, but if he wants me to answer them properly, it's going to take some time. So that's the first thing. I lost some of the questions in between, something with the Prime Minister. I lost that part. I recall asking what I've been doing for Carriacou. And I've answered that question so many times. And I don't know, maybe I should ask the question to the caller, is that what is it that he wants me to do for Carriacou? And then maybe the next time I come, I could tell him what I'm doing. But I'll reiterate again. I've been a Carriacouan for all my life. I've lived here for the majority of my life. I've worked as a public servant for 17 years, 15 years serving farmers in the farming community, 2 years serving as the administrator for the Princess Royal Hospital. So that is on the professional side. And the personal side is numerous to mention in terms of what I have done for Carriacou. In recent times, in terms of the hurricane, I continue to work with persons. I continue to help persons financially, labor, supplies, material-wise, wherever I can. I've been helping people. I do own a pharmacy. I've been giving free medication wherever persons who can't afford. I've been doing it right after the hurricane. Look, I just had to relocate my my pharmacy because where it was totally destroyed. I couldn't continue to operate it. So I'm at a new location, and we are still helping. I've been working with other pharmacies in Greater who have been sending stuff to donate, and we have been working. I've been partnering with a gentleman, oh gosh, his name slipped me right now, who come to the pharmacy, will procure medicine, and we give out vouchers to persons in need. So I've been doing quite a lot. And we have more to do. And those things, for me, I don't have to really speak about those things. Those things is what I love doing, and I will continue to do those, irrespective of where I sit and what I do politically otherwise. 10, 15 years from now, once I have the health and strength, I'll be doing those things. I've been doing them before I get in politics, and I continue to do them. So I just want the gentleman to know that. I mean, he doesn't know me. He's probably just getting second-hand information of it, but he doesn't really know me, who I am, and what Carriacou means to me. He did say something about which government did better. I mean, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, the Union National Party government have done a ton more for Carriacou than even it just has been there for 2 years, and it'd be unfair to compare a longer period in terms of what it's unfair to compare that for Tevin. And I mean, I don't know why we ask that question, but it's unfair for him. You know, I mean, I can bore holes into a number of initiatives that he has started, like, for example, the Bel Air Road. The Bel Air Road started in 2023. We're in 2025, and that road is nowhere near to complete. And I really don't want to go into that. So there are plenty of things I can bore holes into. I mean, they opened the fish market recently, you know, and I always commend them for rebuilding the fish market. It's a good project. It's a welcome project. But there are other issues, but as I said, I really don't want to go into that this morning. I didn't hear the part, GT, about something of the Prime Minister and whatsoever.
Well, Telesford, maybe we could just move on to another caller for a reason for time purposes. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Good morning, JT.
Good morning to you. And I beg of you to be brief for time purposes, please.
Yes, I'll be brief with JT. JT, I sit down here and I'm listening to Mr. Cox in the first seconds of this program. This man bash Carriacouians. He referred to them as thieves. He called them thieves. But the expression gives, referring to the whole Carriacouians as thieves. That's the main impression I get.
All right, caller, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm not hearing. If you heard, you can probably tell me, but I didn't hear.
Well, let's move on to another caller. Caller, you're live via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're welcome.
Yes, good morning, GT, and good morning, Senator Cox.
Pleasant morning, sir.
Yes. When I came on the program, I did listen to you give an answer in regards to where the procurement of material were from, and you said that it was from one person or two persons, and then if it was spread over a larger amount of suppliers, then that would be beneficial to the economy. Now, in order for it to be beneficial to the economy, you have to have injection coming from outside, which means that whatever was induced, if you only need 100 sheets of galvanized, let's say, and only 100 sheets were purchased, whether it is purchased from one or it purchased from two or it purchased from 10, it's the same effect you would have on the economy. Now, granted the fact, going forward from here, given the fact, Mr. Senator Cox, I believe that you were Minister of Infrastructure prior to the last election.
That's correct.
And right. And so the readiness for Hurricane Beryl would have lay firmly and solely upon your shoulders since you were the Minister of Infrastructure and Development there going forward before the hurricane in a larger area, a larger period of time. Am I correct?
Well, I would say yes and no, depending on what area you're speaking about, because, I mean, the government was in power for approximately 2 years prior to the hurricane.
I'm talking about the government buildings that would have been destroyed or would have been terribly destroyed prior to then. given the fact that you were there before and you would have actually had your duty as Minister of Infrastructure would have meant the maintenance, the upkeep, the preparedness of the infrastructure of government before a hurricane comes. And given the fact that you were the Minister of Infrastructure and given the damage that they had, I think that that would have like squarely on your shoulder because they weren't just created or the buildings or the infrastructure.
I strongly disagree, and I say it in context that if you look back at the devastation in Karakou, you're talking about buildings and homes of varying ages were all destroyed. So it's
so
not
it wasn't that buildings that was there for 2 years that were destroyed. It would have been buildings that were there for more than 20 years, more than 10 years, more than 5 years. When you were a minister of infrastructure. So basically, had the job been done right the first time, we can say that the destruction that came would not have come. Am I correct in assuming that?
No, I think you're incorrect because I'm saying that even repairs that are done now, if a hurricane were to come, it doesn't guarantee that those structures will stand. And that is the point.
No, but we're talking about previously to burial. So we're not talking about going forward. No, we're talking about previously to burial.
That is the point that I'm making, that it doesn't matter.
That the maintenance or what you would have actually done would have actually safeguarded the people of Karakou then going forward. And that was not done. And listen to me, it is quite, if I may just say, it's quite okay for you to say, yes, I did not do that, or that was not I did not see that forecast coming, so I did not make that preparation. And listen to me, we would be grateful if you can say, yes, I had a hand to play in all of this, rather than actually coming and defending something that you know that practically, if you were there for the last 23 years and you didn't do it, and you come now and you expect somebody to do it in the last 1 or 2 years, then that's not fair.
Okay, like for example, we had an insurance facility in place. Yeah, I mean, and if we need peaking, we can need peak, and that's what I'm saying. It's somewhat disingenuous to need peak in that regard because we had an insurance facility in excess of $100 million, and we still have homes in Karakou that are not repaired. Persons haven't still received support. So, I mean, we could drill down on that. So I'm saying that in government, there are intricacies, there are things that might be out of the range of government in a particular time or particular era. The issue is not about that, but is what you do at the particular time, how you address, how you respond to those things when it happens. And that is my contention. And so that's why I'm saying that it is some of what you're saying is somewhat unrealistic to some point and nitpicking. So I just wanted to just open it up for you to understand. And it's not a narrow vision as you're putting it out to be.
All right. We do have another call. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Yes, good morning to you, sir. And good morning to Senator Cox. You know, I'm sitting here, and I'll tell you something. I don't want to deal with politics, but I get upset over that last caller. So if a storm come now, my house was built over 100 years ago. If a storm come now and it's blown down, that says that people are responsible now for my house? How could you know what the intensity of a storm that will come to Sri Lanka? What house? I mean, it's a real dumb question and statement to make. I'm not defending politics, defending the senator, but let us get rid of the politics, and this is upsetting me. Of course.
All right, caller. Thank you. Senator Cox, we due for time. We are, of course, already going over time just a wee bit. Anything in closing, Senator Cox, before we take a wrap for today's program?
GT, I just want to really say thank you much for the opportunity, especially the callers, for interacting, for taking the time for calling and raising the concerns, the questions. I will continue to make every effort to respond to the best of my ability and truthfully, so that persons can get an understanding of what is taking place and how persons are contending with our recovery here on island. And as I said, we're not knocking the government. We are bringing issues to the fore, and we are offering suggestions as to how they can address it, like I did today with the jetty, also with the whole issue of the relief, the shelters, the hurricane shelters, and some of the calls that people are really affected by, in terms of things that they believe should be done much better. There is so much things that is taking place that, I can't speak on it. We will take us another hour or two. Just recently I received some reports that persons, some persons are receiving government support materials to build back a garage for the vehicle, and you have persons who living in a tent. So how those things can be allowed and not been spoken about, and those are some of the issues that is before us. Those are some of the things that is affecting Carriacouans. And that is the reason why I take this opportunity to speak, and that is the reason why we have this platform, so that persons can be aware, and the government must know that they need to fix this and to change this. So, Judy, I want to thank you for allowing us, the National Party, this space for us to have this discourse with the public. As I said, not everybody is going to agree with my views, but I'm telling you, this is what the issues are.
All right.
And that's it.
Senator Cox, I want to thank you once again. It's a pleasure to always have you on the program. Hope we could do this again soon, and of course, at another show, another time. Have a good day, sir, and best wishes goes out to you.
All right, thank you, and have a good day.
All right. Once again, we want to thank our listeners and viewers. Those of you who called in and have stood at home and you listened and you partake some way or the other, have yourself a great day and all the best. That's what we say goodbye for today's edition. Goodbye.